Hey there, Blue Mages, Liam here. Welcome back to Blue Academy. Well, we've got another patch coming up, which means we have a Moogle Treasure Trove event coming up. So this one is, I'll be honest, this is sort of less exciting than the previous ones. Both because of the rewards and because there's not going to be a turbo-busted way of farming them. So pretty much, if we just look at this, the ones that are doable as blue and would be like efficient are things like Hullbreaker Isle, Tam-Tara Deepcroft, Darkhold, Cutter's Cry, Sunken Temple of Qarn, and then some of these raids. Obviously we can't enter the trials here because these are level 80, but soon. But let's look at what our options are here. Hullbreaker Isle is a very, very long dungeon with lots of running. There's a lot of trash. Some of it hits pretty hard. There's some like waiting on things. The last boss takes a very long time because of the tentacles. So this one's just kind of out. Tam-Tara Deepcroft is going to be our best tomes per minute, but it requires a group of 4 blue mages, and they need to juggle death, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. Looking at these dungeons, Cutter's Cry is a very easy one to solo, but it's a little bit slow. It's pretty straightforward, but like I said, it's pretty slow. It's like 5.5 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that, because it's a lot of running as well. Sunken Temple of Qarn will be our best bet for soloing. So this one, I'll have a brief clip showing how you can solo this. And then we've got all of our raids here. And the issue with some of the ones like A12 is like, this is at the end of the tier, so we don't have the massive item level advantage. And there's just a lot of downtime in this fight, so most of these ending ones are not going to be very good. The one that probably would be the very fastest if you had a very coordinated group is like A4, but I'm not even going to talk about it because it does require you to be quite coordinated. So yeah, we're not going to worry about that right now. But the straightforward sort of mindless farming one is going to be A1, and I'll show you how to do that. But it's not quite as mindless as Gilgamesh was. You do still need to have most of your Moon Flute opener, ideally all of it, on every person. But let's just jump right into what we do for soloing the Sunken Temple of Qarn. Okay, so what does our loadout look like for soloing? We are pretty much taking what you would expect for a sort of solo run. We've got Basic Instinct and Mighty Guard, of course. I'm going to bring White Wind just for a little bit of safety. Level 5 death, this is helpful for if we aggro a bunch of bees. They're actually vulnerable to death, so that's helpful because they're not vulnerable to Ram's Voice. Ram's Voice is nice though because there's a pack at the end where we'll want to freeze it and Phantom Flurry in case we had to use death on bees. We're going to bring Doom for killing the bosses. Bosses number 2 and 3 are vulnerable to death, so we'll bring that. And this is a weird one that I like, but it's Chirp. If we aggro things at strange times, we can use Chirp, and then it puts things to sleep for 40 seconds. So that lets us just run by. Outside of that, pretty standard loadout. Okay, so here we are. The first bit of this dungeon is kind of like a stealth mission. We are trying our best to not pull enemies. And most of them, they aggro if they see us, but bats, it's if they hear us. So the way we don't aggro them is by walking. This one is going to be a good example of that. So here, I want to switch to walking, walk past, there we go, no aggro. Facer is facing the other direction, B just turned around. That's actually good. I wanted to aggro something, just to show. But here, we're going to pull all these together. I'm going to use Chirp just to show you, because I like to use this for, you know, putting things to sleep so we can just keep running. Obviously, 3 things here, the 2 bees and the Facer, it doesn't affect them, so it's kind of a wash there. But let's see. We'll just finish this guy. Really, I could have just pulled him into the boss and killed him with the boss. So here, I'm going to pre-whistle. We're going to Tingle, Moon Flute, Triple Trident, Night Bloom. I'm going to use my 4 Serpanakas. Gonna use pretty much any of my primals that I can fit, and then finish with a Sting. The reason we do this is because the second 2 bosses are actually vulnerable to death. So that is preferred for us. So if we aggro a bunch of things in this next set, you'll see what I mean about using Chirp. This bee probably will aggro. Yeah, okay. That's fine though. So I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna kill this face thing. I think that the bees eventually de-aggro, so I'm just gonna keep on running. Let's see, we got a Death Claw here. Are these ones sight? Yeah, these ones are also sight. Okay, so you can see it's just stealth mission. We're just trying to get past everything where we can. This bee's making me nervous. Okay, yeah, the bee is being a butt, so I'm going to let it get over here, and I'm going to death. It's using Final Sting. That's why they're scary. Final Sting does like 80% of your health or something, your max health. But here, we're going to make sure we target the Guardian. Just going to use Doom until it hits it. Really, what I should have done is pulled all the enemies here and then used Death on the boss and all the enemies. But I'm stupid, so I didn't. Alright, so the door opens up. Woohoo. That's going to aggro for sure. Let's just put him to sleep and keep going. I haven't quite figured out the aggro situation in here, because sometimes things leash, sometimes they'll just chase me through the whole dungeon. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but oh well. So we'll kill the face thing. Let's just put this croc to sleep. Put him to sleep too. So now we're just going to run straight down here. Aggroing a bunch of these things. Put these to sleep. We're just going to... Oh my god, my controller. Okay, we're going to tip the scales of judgment. Great. I'm going to pull all these together. I'm going to Phantom Flurry. Oh, I got silenced. That's not good. Okay. And then here comes the boss. Here comes a croc. So for him, like I said, we can just Doom. There's the Doom. So now we just have to survive, which shouldn't be a huge problem. We're just going to run around. So this was a really slow run. I had to stop. I messed up some things with death and so on. So we're going to be looking at about 6 minutes for this run. It says 5:23 in my chat. But, you know, if you're getting in the groove of things, if you're doing well, you get good at the stealth part of this. And you don't have to cast Doom as many times. I had to cast it a lot on the second boss. You'll get below 5 minutes easy. So it's pretty straightforward. You can make it even safer by just like intentionally killing bees, because they are spooky. They resist freeze and sleep, so they're kind of annoying. So that's it for the Qarn run. Pretty straightforward, pretty safe. Now our loadout for Tam-Tara Deepcroft, if we're DPS, it's going to be pretty much the same as any DPS loadout. I mean, this is just my standard bar for DPS. But what we will grab is, where is it? Level 5 Death. This is because a lot of the enemies in Tam-Tara Deepcroft are not vulnerable to deep freeze, so we cannot ultra vibration. However, they are vulnerable to death, so we'll bring death. And then this is a kind of weird one where we're actually going to be bringing Saintly Beam. So all of the bosses and all of the enemies between the first and the second boss are vulnerable to Saintly Beam. So this will help us kill things extremely quickly. Very powerful. But pretty much that's about it. You can bring Hydro Pull. You're going to want one tank. So the tank will obviously be Tank Mimicry, bringing Mighty Guard. They should probably be the ones to bring Hydro Pull. Probably bring White Wind just for healing and so on. But that's a standard tank loadout. Actually, if I load my tank, you can see I have all of those things that I mentioned except for Hydro Pull. We just bring Hydro Pull. And we would want to grab Death as well. You want the tank to have Death. So that's pretty much it. DPS, but with Death and Saintly Beam. Tank, but with Hydro Pull and Death. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so Tam-Tara Deepcroft. Obviously, I'm just doing this solo as a warrior. I haven't been awake at times this week where I could like kidnap 3 people so I could come and record it. But this one is going to be probably your best bet for like tomes per hour. But you cannot solo this very easily. It's very, very slow to solo. The reason is that a lot of these enemies cannot be frozen, but they can be deathed. So what we'll do is we would bring our 4 blues in here and just death these, right? So we do that. For this, we would want a tank blue to handle that, but we do want 4 blues. Having 4 deaths is helpful for the timing here. So we'll just come through, come down here. And then we're on our first boss, and this is where we can bust out Saintly Beam. So obviously, if you can do Moon Flute openers, that's going to be, more powerful. But being able to use a 500 potency GCD and just kill the boss is really powerful. So you'll just have everyone just spam Saintly Beam. Ads might spawn, that's fine. They're invulnerable to it too. And every enemy between the first and the second boss is also vulnerable. So, if you wanted to really optimize this part, you could have everyone go and open a separate coffer. Really, it's the exploration part of this that is slow. But it is safer to move together. So you can just have one person running through an aggro ring, your tank. Everyone else killing things with Saintly Beam. And then we just got to open all these up. Now, I'll be honest, doing it this way with just a warrior is not that much slower. Or not that much faster, I mean, than doing it with blues. Actually, it might be slower. I'm just moving in weird ways. But just gotta aggro everything. These little ones should die 1 or 2 Saintly Beams. Once that's done, let me just run through here. Actually, yeah, this is slower than... you can get this down to like 4-ish minutes if you have 4 blue mages. This is going to be the same as the first boss. You can just Saintly Beam it to death. Now, these ones are annoying, again, where they can't be frozen, but they can be deathed. So we run all the way to the end here. And it is probably safer to do this as 2 pulls at the end. So that's what I would recommend, is 2 pulls. So these guys all spawn. And there we go. You just death everything, and then we're on the last boss, which, again, this one can be killed with Saintly Beam. Okay, so it actually was slightly faster for me to do it unsynced, but it's not outrageously faster, to be honest. I was just shy of 4 minutes. You can definitely get under 4 if you're with a good group of 4 blue mages. It's first pack death, second pack death, Saintly Beam the boss, Saintly Beam the adds between 1 and 2, death the boss or the adds between 2 and 3, and then Saintly Beam the final boss. Pretty straightforward, but it does require coordinating some deaths. Unfortunately, we don't have a Gilgamesh equivalent this time. This is going to be the closest one. This is A1. Again, I'm doing this one unsynced, just because finding 7 blue mages in the middle of the work week is not easy. So at least when there's no actual tangible reward for doing things. And I've only been free early in the morning this week, so. But what we're going to do is we would want 2 blue mages to do a Moon Flute opener on Faust and finish with a Sting. So we have 2 of our 6 blue mages Moon Fluting and Stinging on Faust. And as long as they don't get rezzed and instead spawn back at the beginning, that resets their cooldowns. So we'll come in here. And then in this, everyone is going to be Moon Fluting, and the 6 that did not Sting are going to be Self-Destructing. So here, I'll just run in. Like I said, one person is going to be tanking, everyone else is Moon Fluting. Tank should be using White Wind to keep people alive during this. And when Oppressor gets to, I think it's 25%, maybe it's 20%, is when the second one comes out. Looks like 25%. So obviously I'm killing this way faster, but we would have Oppressor come out, and once it's targetable, everyone just does their self-destruct. And that's pretty much it. So actually, this is about as fast as it would be with 8 blue mages. This was 1:48 for me, and you can definitely get this to about 2 minutes with 4 blue mages, or 8 blue mages. So this one is gonna be the closest thing we have to Gilgamesh. The problem is that you need everyone to actually have some idea of what they're doing, because you actually do need the Moon Flutes for damage. So people sandbagging are really going to be sandbagging this time around. Alright, well, that's it for this Tomestone event. Like I said, it's not going to be as fast and efficient as previous ones. Certainly no T2 equivalent, certainly no Gilgamesh equivalent. If you're just looking for, the least effort, A1 is going to be your best bet, but it's still going to be some effort because people have to actually know what they're doing with Moon Flute openers and such. It's still pretty fast if you just queue up with regular jobs too, though. It's only a few minutes. Soloing Sunken Temple of Qarn is pretty fast. The absolute fastest is going to be the Tam-Tara Deepcroft hard with 4 blue mages. Each of them is going to net you, 1 tomestone for every minute and a half or so, with Tam-Tara coming out a little bit further ahead. It's it's 1 tomestone per minute roughly. So if you've got 4 people total, that's going to be your best bet. That's what I recommend. I expect Party Finder will mostly be doing A1, and that's fine. But the more blues you have for that, the better. And let's see, that's pretty much it for this. I myself am not terribly thrilled with the reward, so I'm not going to be trying too hard here, but you can't go wrong with just doing front lines and stuff like that. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing. But that's it for this Tomestone event. So as always, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for some more Blue Mage stuff, and have a good couple of weeks farming.